All right. So as we go into this next section, we're talking about a term that we've really coined, air raid 3.0. Now it's again, it's our term that we utilize here in the surface air system, but we feel like the air raid had to evolve. Air raid 1.0 was what we all knew when they started running it back in the 90s. It was throw first, throw second, a little bit of stuff added. And then 3.0 is what we believe Oklahoma is. It's what we believe Andy Reid at the Chiefs is. It's what we in surface to air are. It is a major evolutionary step in the idea of offense. And the first thing that I think you really have to look at when you start talking about air raid 3.0 is one tempo is simply not enough. There are times where we use one-word calls and we go supersonic fast. There's other times we are very no huddle-ish. We hardly ever huddle, period. But there are times where we will set up, we'll shift, we'll motion, we'll leave the kids at the line of scrimmage, we'll let the clock burn, let a little bit of it die off, that sort of thing. We don't just play in one tempo anymore. I don't think one is good enough. And the reason why is defenses can get used to anything they see. And here's what I tell people. If you're standing there and a pitcher is throwing 98-mile-an-hour fastball at you, and he throws 10 in a row, the first one's going to look really fast. But by number 7 or 8, you're going to get the timing right. You're going to connect and put that thing 400 feet out behind the left field wall. That's why everybody knows that if you're a good pitcher, you'll throw one pitch 92 and the next one might be 82. Okay? One might have a little dip. One might have a curve. One might be high. One might be low. Location's everything. Speed and location are everything. Well, the speed we control as an offense. It's called tempo. And I don't think that you can just play with one. So in this air raid 3.0 world, you have to diversify your tempos. But the other big part of that first point is you also have to diversify your personal. I always felt like base air raid teams were a hybridization of a 10 and 11 personnel. They played with a lot of tight ends, but the tight end didn't do tight end-like things. So they ended up being a lot of just 10 personnel. And I don't think that confuses or keeps the defense off balance. So when we look up here at the board, I wrote these up here for you. We are going to play at least in these different personnel groupings just in week 1 next year. We'll be in what's called O1. So if we look at O1 personnel grouping, and I think most of us are familiar with this, but just to make sure that we're clear, we're going to be in a 0 back, 1 tight end structure. Well, that right there is an issue, okay? It's an issue for most defenses. So you might say, well, Coach, why do you want to be in this? Well, the reason I want to be in this is my quarterback next year is only going to be a junior, and he's probably about 4, and he's probably going to be over 200 pounds. And he's one of the strongest kids in the weight room. He loves to lift weights. He takes pride in lifting weights. He's going to hit you in the by God mouth. And so I want to be able to run him and utilize his assets. Well, if I've got a back there, okay, it's a waste of time. I want to spread them out. My tailbacks, plural, because I have really 3 kids that can play that position, can all catch the ball. They all like running routes. They all understand the offense. Well, that's a completely different animal. So if we come up here and the defense decides to play us in a 4-man front and they decide to play 1 high, which is probably not advantageous for them, but they certainly could, and they're trying to play in that kind of half-world box, we're able to come up here and we're able to do a lot of things to create angles on them, all while being able to run whatever RPO we want. 0-1 personnel is a completely different animal. That's air raid-y type things. That's a bubble screen. That's a stick route. It's all air raid, but it's a new wrinkle on it. It's a new personnel wrinkle on it that looks a little bit different and forces defenses to process differently. So I'm just going to kind of take you through briefly a few of these personnel groupings and give you just a little taste test. We know what 10 personnel is. 10 personnel is 4 wide receivers. We can run 4 verticals out of that. We can do whatever we want. Okay, so you've seen 0-1. Then you see 10, which everybody that's an air raid guy knows what 10 is. Then we come out and we jump into 11 personnel, and we play with a true tight end, okay? That true tight end allows us to do some things. If you're playing the 3 technique over there, which, again, a lot of people are going to, and you've been hit with the passing game a few times, we're able to come back, and we're able to run good old one-back power. We can run one-back power in there. We can put a little fly sweep on it, RPO that as a post snap, okay? Hold these 2 players with the backside slant, give them fly motion to pull surfaces out there, give them an RPO to keep those guys out, block the whole surface, okay? Our kids can do this, and they can do this without changing the personnel on the field. We cross-train our kids to do this. So now you've seen 01, you've seen the base air raid 10 personnel, you've seen a little 11 personnel, okay? You're over there playing defense or trying to be the defensive coordinator. Now you come out and you start getting a little bit of true 12 personnel. So we'll line up and we'll put the H-back there, or we'll trade him over and we'll put him there. Okay, we'll give you a couple different looks. Belly play right there. Give you a little RPO outside of it. We might come back over here and put the H over there and split zone all the way across. Okay, all while giving you an RPO look. We might come across and bluff that, block that surface and leave, and run the air raid sail concept, the 3-level sail concept right there, okay? All that stuff can be run now out of 12P. Again, it's keeping things moving for that defensive coordinator, and it's really keeping things moving for that 16-year-old Will linebacker who's trying to process all that out. These are not things that your granddad's air raid style team preferred to run. They didn't invest the time, in my opinion, in this. They wanted to get really good at a few things, which I completely believe in. I just think that we're selling kids short. Kids can get better at a lot of different things. Here's another one. Why can we not come out with the same in 21P? Now we'll come up. They'll give us a shade. We'll run weak side power. Pull the guard. Come around and run the power play. Then we'll run the power play a few times, and we'll come out and we'll run Y cross. There's the air raid Y cross concept right there out of 21P off of 2-back power action. Okay? So again, you're taking an air raid concept. The air raid concept is Y cross, and you're putting it with a 21P concept, the 2-back power, and you're putting those 2 concepts together and you're running them both on a modern defense, on a modern defensive coordinator. Well, I can tell you this, 2-back power out of 21 personnel is going to cause my defense a lot of issues. They're going to have to scheme that all week. They're going to have to work on it all week. They're going to have answers to that. They're going to have to be able to process how to do that. They may even have to go out and put in an underfront and play it to an underfront. A 5th defensive lineman on the field, you're going to have a heck of a lot of trouble covering that air raid Y cross concept over the top. Not to mention the fact you can run the play strong and come over here and run the air raid sail concept. There's just so many things you can do out of multiple personnel groupings that make this hard on people. And I think this is going to cause that defensive coordinator to burn a lot of time so he can't spend time on stopping 4 verticals, stopping Y cross, stopping shallow cross. Some of the base air raid things you want to do are made even better when they come off of multiple personnel groupings. I'll give you one more example. We could go on, obviously, ad nauseum all day and talk all about the different ways you could run air raid plays out of multiple personnel groupings. But I'll give you one more. We get into 30 personnel. In a traditional diamond set, we can come out here and we can run power read, lead this guy around. We can run true power right there. We can run all kinds of little pop passes right there. We can come out and we can run boot passes and run our Y cross that way off full flow and bring the quarterback around and still get my 3-level flood Y cross concept, which is very air raid-ish. But again, I don't think you saw a lot of guys back in 1997 or even in 2007 coming out and getting in 30P, running diamond-style power read, which is a great football play that my quarterback loves to run and is good at, and then pairing it up with Y cross, which is a great air raid concept that, again, my quarterback's good at. These things, I think what's happened is we've sold kids short when we say, okay, boys, we got 4 verts, Y cross, Y sail, mesh. That's it. You're good. You're done. No, there's way more kids can do. Kids want to do more. This is more fun. This is more prolific. It keeps them engaged, and it makes it a friggin' nightmare for that defensive coordinator to process all this stuff out. And all we did was take you through 6 personnel groupings. That's not to mention the fact I can come out here and add all kinds of problems to your life by coming out and going unbalanced 21. Or I could come over here and go unbalanced 30. Or I could go unbalanced tight 30. There's all kinds of options that I have in tempo and personnel grouping that make the Air Raid 3.0 version way more deadly, way more fun, and way more difficult for that defense to go out and stop things. I want to go out and I want to throw now screens and run the ball between the tackles. If I want to do something that simple, going out and playing in all these different personnel groupings is going to make that studying film and meeting where he's not going out and trying to figure out how to stop stick and a bubble screen and inside zone. So that's a big part of what that Air Raid 3.0 mentality is. And I know we really hammered that point, and I spent quite a few minutes, and I'm pretty fired up about that. But I think that that's something that got missed for about a decade where people just didn't go out and differentiate their personnel groupings. And I think that a lot of people missed stuff there. And we were running diamond back in 2012, 13, 14, all those, 15. We were doing that. We were using tight ends. We were branching out from the Air Raid 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I think what you're seeing is guys that are successful are no longer Air Raid guys. They are Air Raid influenced, and they've taken the offense in radically new and progressive directions. So that's number one. Let's go back and let's talk now about point number 2 on there. Gun and from playing from under center. I think that this is, again, something that just keeps getting missed because I think that there are teams that have not fully kind of utilized, I guess is the best way to say it, all of their options right there. Let me give you a great example. Let's say we come out here and we line up, and I still think, I'm not an eye guy, but I still think this is one of the greatest formations you can line up in. I think I-back twins, excuse me, so 21P twins is still a tough set to get into because so many people are going to handle it the same way. They're going to give you the 3. They're going to give you the 7 to the tight end. They're going to go ahead and they're going to start sticking backers down in there. They're going to realize they've got to put a down. In my mind, they've only got one guy left. Now, some people are willing to leave the corner back there and play a true 3 linebacker set. Most people aren't. They end up camping that guy out over the tight end. When that happens, a great football play is to just call outside zone. Just call the dadgum outside zone play. Look at that. Toss that thing out there. Outside zone toss. Great play. Works on the goal line. Works on 3rd and 5. Works on 1st and 10. It's a great hitch-in-the-mouth football play. Kids can execute it. It's simple as can be. Okay? Well, you say, all right, coach, great football play. All right, why do I want that? Well, because as soon as you get done running that play, what I'd like to see coaches do more of is come and line up in the same dadgum formation. And instead of running toss, I'd like them to see them come out, and I'd like to see them run. It's the same play. It's the same play out of the same formation, okay? But we're selling toss. We can even sell the toss all the way out there if we want and naked that thing around. Doesn't matter how you protect it. It's a great football play. That's air raid Y cross from under center. Okay? Now you say, well, coach, why the under center and gun? Because I think that teams don't process that it's the same play. So I want to line up and I want to run that from under center, but I also want to come out and I want to line up in sniffer trips, which is a great play, and I want to run outside zone, same play. There's toss sweep from the gun, and I want to run a glance post on the backside or an out or a slant, hold the whole backside, and run the football over there. Then I want to be able to come out, and I want to line up in the exact same set you just saw a few minutes ago. I want to fake inside zone. I want to chip that guy. I want to go down the field on the fade, and I want to run Y cross right there. And I want to take the quarterback's launch point out there. So again, outside zone / toss, however you want to process that, with Y cross should be a formational deal. But what it really should be is I should take the concept outside run and put it under center and the gun. I should take the concept Y cross 3-level flood and put it under center and in the gun. I should teach it from both platforms because a team is going to really, really struggle. I'm a head football coach. I sit in defensive meetings, and I can tell you something that's a struggle. When a team comes out and they can run the same concepts from multiple personnel groupings, multiple formations, motions, shifts, all that sort of stuff, it's hard on a defense. When a team comes out and lines up in 10 personnel and throws 4 verts, Y cross, shallow, and that's it, I can slow them down. I can slow them down, and I'm not a defensive guy, but I can slow them down. I can make that game manageable and give myself a chance to win because they're not mentally challenging me, and they're not mentally challenging my kids. 3.0 is designed with the idea in mind of making the defensive coordinator turn the next page of his play sheet. Make him keep coming up with options. Make him keep working all week long in practice. Hey, guys, they line up in this. They line up in that. They line up in this. They line up in that. Keep making that defense work so that they're not as good at any one thing, so you give yourself a better chance to score and win the game. All right, as we get down there to number 3, we get into RPOs, okay? RPOs is a big one. I believe that the initial not an RPO world. It just was not. Then I believe that after that, we got into Air Raid 2.0. Air Raid 2.0 is I'll throw a bubble. I'll throw a now screen. I'll take a simple little pre-snap poke out there and keep a guy honest. We have progressed past that now. We have moved way beyond that. So let me give you an example. A greater emphasis on RPOs. I really like this formation. This is rock left to us. Rock left. I really like that formation. I think it makes you have to play a certain way as a defense. Again, I think they've got to equate those numbers. Okay, if they want to roll people down, they can certainly roll people down. But again, I think that they're kind of hamstrung because their corner, I talk to our guys all the time. You have to have a fill, a contain, and a force player. Well, their force player is also their cover 3 player. And I think that makes things difficult. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to come up, we're going to run buck sweep, and we're going to set back on that defensive end so there's no read. The only read player is now the first linebacker backside. And so what we're going to do is we're going to declare it that guy right there, and we're going to put ourselves in RPO situations where we get rid of those people. If they get a will that attaches, a strong safety that jumps, a corner and a free that bracket, great, because we've got down block angle, kick out angle, turn back angle. We've got things in great shape. That is what I would call next gen RPO. Next gen RPO. Okay, we're not just throwing a bubble screen out there and blocking. We do that. We're good at that. That is a big part of what we do. But we're going to read your second level. We're going to read your third level. We're going to read your wills. We're going to read your safety, autonomy. We're going to run gap scheme and zone scheme RPOs. We're going to run things where the quarterback simply takes a look at one guy. If this one guy is involving in the run fit, we're going to put the ball out there. It's hard to tell you because this is an opponent. It's just drawn on a whiteboard. But if we know that their answer is to cheat the will back in the box, we're going to give ourselves more of a stick look. We're going to throw the ball as soon as he leaves. If we know the will is just basically taking away the easy bubble throw, and it's really the free that's the adjuster, he takes away the glance post, or he runs downhill to finish off the run, we're going to tell the quarterback, read that guy. He comes over the top, hand the ball off. He's aggressive downhill to get in the run fit. You find one of those routes and make him wrong. That's what we're doing. We're reading multiple people all over the field based on game planning. And I could stand up here planning. And we'll get to that in the last hour of this presentation. But game planning is huge. Pick the guys and make them wrong. And I know you might say, well, Coach, isn't that just shallow cross? Yes. But people have figured out shallow cross. They've got answers to shallow cross. There's 5 billion articles on shallow cross and stopping shallow cross. And do you jam the cross or do you bail off the cross? I've got my own theory. I did it last year, and we took away a lot of shallow crosses. But people don't have a lot of answers to that because not a lot of people have an answer to lone tight end trips, buck sweep, glance post RPOs. That's not exactly a proliferation of documentation on that. So what we're doing is we're evolving. That's the word I want you to keep hearing in Air Raid 3.0. We have an evolutionary mindset. And I'm going to come back to that as my 5th point here in just a minute. But as we go from point 3 to point 4, creating game plans that consider all 3 phases of the game. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're actually going to spend an inordinate amount of time really dive deep into game planning. But I'm just going to give you a quick taste test. When we talk about this, we talk about the BIG. The BIG. The BIG stands for the Basic Integrated Game Plan. And here's what I found over the years. This is going to be, I think, year 22 for me coaching high school football coming up. And as a young offensive coordinator, I thought the game all revolved around me. I thought it was all about me. I want to score 40 points. I want to be the number 1 scoring team in the state. To hell with the defense. To hell with the special teams. I'm going to do what I do. Well, that's a great thing until you realize you don't always win doing that. You put up good stats. Nobody hires and fires people based on stats. They hire and fire people based on wins. If you're a good man and you run a good program, you're not going to stay unemployed unless you win. You're not going to stay employed because you're treating kids the right way. You're getting results. You're winning games. That's how you get to pour into kids' lives. And that's something I'm big on. But you have to win. We live in a capitalist society. And so the BIG, the Basic Integrated Game Plan, is really asking a simple question. How do all 3 phases of the game tie together, forgive my handwriting here, tie together to win? How do all 3 phases of the game tie together to win? Okay, we won a game this past fall by scoring 55 points and putting up almost 600 yards of offense. But we won another game by putting up 14 points and cutting the number of plays our opponent had by like 30 from the previous year. We only scored 14 points in one game. 2 weeks later, we scored 55 in one. And somebody would say, oh, well, it was a good night and a bad night of offense. No, it was prepared that way. One team we knew we couldn't score 55 on. We had to grind it out, be physical, protect the defense, give special teams and defense a chance to win. And they did, by the way. We returned a kickoff for a touchdown to win it. The other game, we knew that defense would struggle because of some formational things and some injuries. So we said, to hell with it. Go as fast as we can, score as often as we can, and get the win that way. If you're an Air Raid 1.0 team, you think about offense. If you're 2.0, you're still thinking about offense. In my opinion, in 3.0, you are thinking of all 3 phases of the game. We're not trying to win 60 to 59 10 weeks in a row. It's not going to work. And I think that's what a lot of teams used to do. I think now more and more, at least I can speak for myself, the goal on offense is to score 1 more point than our opposition scores. I don't care if that's 14 to 13 or 49 to 48. It still counts as a win of the victory. And I'm going to really jump on that soapbox in the last lecture and talk a lot about that. So I'm going to leave it be for now, and we'll come back. Number 5, to be an Air Raid 3.0 team, you have to have what I call an evolutionary mindset. You have to be willing to do things differently than you've always done them, or you can't really declare yourself to be an Air Raid 3.0 guy. And I'll give you a crystal clear example. This formation right here is not one that we ran last year. And you might say, well, wow, coach, that's not very impactful. That's not very amazing. Well, let me tell you what that is. That puts my best 2 receivers on the same side. This kid is way better at fly sweep than these 2 kids. It puts my Y, who's a good blocker, and my H, who's very intelligent, together. And then I'm able to move the H around to a variety of positions. Okay, I can put him wherever I want. Okay, put him. I can put him back down here, 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 here. I can put him wherever I want. I can also fly that Z around or put the Z over here and fly him back, or I can unbalance the X. We've never done that before. That's a new formational tweak that we're going to be using a lot more in the fall, mixed in with everything else we do. We didn't used to get into rock that much. That was a very underutilized formation for us. Now we use it all the time. We didn't line up in unbalanced sets. We had games this year, we'd line up in an unbalanced set 13, 14 times because people wouldn't adjust to it. It's very funny to me because the second or third year I was a head coach many years ago, we played a team that almost beat us because they lined up in the wishbone with 2 tight ends, and they gashed us the whole first series. Well, the middle of the second series, we realized the reason they were gashing us is they were unbalanced. They had a guard over. Well, as soon as we adjusted, we beat them. Well, now, all these years later, unbalanced is vogue again. But my point to this is you can't be a 3.0 guy unless you have an evolutionary mindset. And boil it down to that one point. You must be evolutionary in your mindset. If you have to play with 2 tight ends to win, then play with 2 tight ends. If you need to use more motion, use more motion. The base air raid community is all about, well, we do settle and noose drill. Well, that's great. Do settle and noose drill. But if you don't have kids that can settle and noose well, if you don't have good mesh guys, if your quarterback doesn't read mesh well, then don't run it. Run things your kids do well. I have a kid that's great at fly sweep. I'm going to use him more fly sweep. I have a tight end that's a really good position blocker. I'm going to play with an inline tight end more. I'm going to use things that I need to use to win the game. And Air Raid 1.0 for sure, and a little bit 2.0, weren't willing to do that. You have to evolve. I'm not just carte blanche doing anything. We have a system. That base system is run and executed and implemented every year. But we're willing to add and adjust wrinkles to what our kids can do. Remember, go back to those first 3 points. Creates conflict. I can coach this. My kids can do it. And it's going to create conflict. So you need to be willing to implement it. Don't say, well, that's not air raid. I can't do that. That doesn't work. If you need to do it, do it. Do what you need to do to win. I think that's the key point on Air Raid 3.0. Now, let's start moving over to some evidence because, again, I'm a big believer in anybody can say anything. Anybody can stand up here with a marker and a whiteboard and say, you should do this and you should do that and proselytize to you. But where's the evidence? Where is the film that you coached last fall that shows this? And so we showed you some film in the previous video about why Air Raid wasn't enough. So now we're going to fast forward to 2019 and show you why Air Raid 3.0 is enough. And so we're going to start breaking that down a little bit.